to another episode of the Be Real, Be Radiant podcast. My name is Jireh, your host, and we are on video, y'all. I know I had another break last week, but we're back and we're on video because I have a guest interview for you today. And we just wrapped up, we just finished recording it, and she went in and real fast too. I was like, oh wow, we're getting into it right away. And I'm so glad that she did. It's meaty, it's heavy, but I believe that it's going to help a lot of people out there. And I myself have learned so much. So just a backstory, I've never met this person in like in real life, per, in person, face to face. I've only ever had an online friendship with her for the past 7 years. So back in 2015, as I was still blogging for fashionmeetsgod.com, and I weirdly remember it was in this house that I'm in now. I was here for missions trips, and I for whatever reason, I was just like, I want to bring some guests on for the blog. I want to interview some people and feature them on Fashion Meets God. So I remember I took like this whole day of just making like this poster and like getting all the logistics down and like all the logistics. First of all, that was not that serious, but I mean, like, all the things, to get together for um to bring on guest interviews or guest features. So I put it all together and I published it on Fashion Meets God, and I just sent it out to the World Wide Web. And you guys, the first person who reached out, and I feel like it was like the day after, it did not take long, but right away with the first person who responded and wanted to be featured was this girl, Ida from Denmark. So this is me back in 2015. I'm like, what? This is nuts. Like, I love the internet. Like, first of all, like, this is why I love the internet because it just brings people together, in such a random way. And that obviously could either be a good or a bad way. But for this part, it was good. For this, it was good. So yeah, so I interviewed her, and she was the first like official guest feature I ever had on fashionmeetsgod.com. And ever since then, we've just been keeping up with each other. We followed each other since then. I've been keeping up with her life. She's traveled so much. You'll see on her Instagram, she's been everywhere. And so it's just been really cool, to have this friendship, this virtual friendship for so long. And then today, and for this interview, was literally the first time we met. I mean, in person, like to actually have a conversation, to talk, to hear her voice, for her to hear my voice. And it was something special. I must say, I kept telling her I'm tripping out that we're finally meeting, like this for the first time. And so, um, as we all know, it is May, which means it's Mental Health Awareness Month. And so we are actually getting into that mental health. Now, I do want to give a trigger warning. And I even asked her about this because I got to be honest, guys, myself, I'm still learning so much about mental health. Having her on, and I told her this, made me a little nervous because I'm still learning. Like I'm still just soaking in everything. And I'm learning about this. I'm going to give a trigger warning. And she said, yeah, that's okay. Because she does get into mental health. She does get into some of her experiences, which are very traumatic. My jaw dropped when she said it. So if you get triggered, by any way with conversations like this, or just having specific thoughts, that kind of trigger something in you, I'm giving you a warning, and perhaps you may not want to listen in to this specific episode. So I'm putting it out there, but I do pray that this will be encouraging, and that we can all as I've said from episode 1, just grow and learn together. So I'm so thankful that I had her on, that we were able to meet. And I hope and pray that you guys also will just learn along with me. So we get right into it. So I'm just going to shift into the interview right now. And yeah, that's it. So I will talk to you guys later and enjoy the episode. Bye, guys. Hi, Ida. How
Hi.
are you?
Oh, thank you. I'm good. It's good to be here and talk with you.
I know it's so amazing to finally like meet you, or virtually meet you, at least in
Mhm.
person. Um, and we've known each other since 2015, but this is the first time we're actually having a conversation. I can hear your voice. I can see you. So
It is.
how are you? How have you been? How's life?
Oh, what has not happened since 2015?
Right?
Um, I mean, in the meantime, I've lived in California, in Thailand, moved back to Denmark, moved to Copenhagen, started my bachelor's degree, graduated my bachelor's degree, and now I'm studying my master's degree in social work.
Oh my gosh.
So a lot.
It's
Yeah.
a lot that's happening. But I follow you. I've been following you on
Mm.
social media since 2015, and your Instagram page is really like something I vicariously am just living through through
Oh,
you. All
thanks.
of your travels. I don't know who takes your photos, but they do a great, fantastic job in taking your photos. So I
Awesome.
love following you in your travels. I know you've been, everywhere, so many places.
I have, yeah.
Yeah. So, Ida, let's, get into this conversation. And
Mhm.
I'm really excited to dive in, especially on what our main topic is, which is, as it is May, it's Mental
Mm.
Health Awareness Month. So before we get into all the meat in all the golden nuggets I know you're about to drop for all of us, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Because I'm sure I have so much to learn about you still.
Yeah, yeah. So mental health is something I have been very passionate about ever since the last 2 years, 2.5 years, when my life like really switched. A lot of things happened. One of the main points being back in August of 2020, when my one of my very closest friends and her child, they were both murdered by her fiance. So also the father of the child was the one killing, and he was a kids like ministry leader in church, almost up until the point where it happened. So it like only did it shake me on like mental level, but also on a faith-based level. It really did. And before that, I was also in some very traumatic experiences. Um, so it was just like a lot happening within a couple of months. And yeah, it did not help that like it was like a huge media story. So like the press came and
Gosh.
they like trespassed private property where I was at, with like cameras on, videos on. They chased me, they called me every single day for months. And yeah, it was extreme, and it took a huge toll on my mental health. And ever since then, I've been in and out of counseling, and seen actually 8 professionals to this point. Yeah.
8.
So,
8?
yeah, yeah. From
Wow.
nurses to doctors to physiotherapists to, yeah, psychotherapy.
Wow.
Mm.
Wow. That's incredible. And we just dove right into it. So
We did, we
as you
did.
as you dropped all of that, and I know that's still just surface. Like I
Yeah,
don't
it
even
is.
know, we haven't talked about this prior to the interview. So
Mm.
this is also my first time hearing everything. So what you just shared, I'm sure, is not even all of it. It's just a
Mm.
small percentage of what
Yeah.
really happened. And we're also on video. So not only is this audio, but we'll also have this on YouTube. So when you said that, unfortunately, the husband was in ministry, is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
you know Obviously this hits home for me, and for
Mm.
you and a lot of our listeners who are in the faith and who
Yeah.
grew up in the church. my jaw dropped when you said that, to be
Mm,
honest. You'll
yeah.
see it in the video, and I'm sure so many other people can't, who just heard that are also
Mm,
in disbelief because of
yeah.
all places. Like, man, why does it have to be,
Yeah. We
if it's
did not see it coming.
right,
Not
right.
really.
I'm sure. So gosh, I can only imagine how much really of a toll all of those experiences, were for you. So, I mean, clearly it's obvious that mental health awareness month is so important to you.
Mm,
So, can you share, Ida? I know you shared just some already, and whatever
yeah.
you're comfortable, of course, sharing with, but what else have been your experiences with mental health? Like, did it only, were you only ever, I guess, struggling with mental health when
Mm,
that huge occurrence happened, or did you have it in the past as well, or that really
um,
started everything?
yeah, good question. I think before that, I think I was not really putting emphasis on mental health. I was like, yeah, it's a thing, and like I gotta, I don't know, like have healthy friendships, have boundaries in place, like whatnot, like in my everyday life. Like being one who struggles with mental health and how little most of my friends and like group of people know about mental health, because my experience is people like they really want to be there, like they find what has happened horrible, but they do not know how to act,
Mm.
um, which has been so tough for both me but also for my group of friends and my family. So I feel like there's just a huge gap there. I really want to try to bridge as much as I can so we can be there for each other and get less hurt on both sides.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure, especially having, I mean, would you say that because it happened within your circle and because it affected your
Mm,
closest sphere,
yeah.
would you say at least that's kind of provided somewhat of support because you were all just going through it together? Or does it not really work that way?
In the beginning, yeah, I was completely isolating myself. Like I was like, I only want to hang out with like me, and then like my friend who passed, like Bianca was her name. I only wanted to hang out with like our friendship group, because I was like, I could not handle seeing someone else and
I
like having to
see.
explain everything over again. But
Sure.
like that only lasted for so long. I was like, then I needed to get out of that, and
Okay.
in order to move on, I needed to go back to my normal friends, so to speak.
Mm. Yeah. Wow. So even just with your friendships and even your circle, like so much changed, so
Yeah.
much shifted. So okay. So what would you say, to someone, or let's go to you first,
Mm.
for who got a front row seat to all of this, who's going through it, still, what have your friends done to help process and navigate all of this?
Mm. That's the thing. I feel like the bridge has just been too big. So a lot of the time, I have not had friends who helped me through this. It has actually, my experience has been more the opposite, because of the lack of knowledge on how to approach the situation.
Hmm. Oh, I
So yeah,
see.
for me,
Yeah.
one of the most helpful things was setting very clear boundaries in my friendship, in order to yeah, protect my mental health.
Yeah, setting boundaries, which is,
Mm,
I'm sure that was really important.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So as you were setting boundaries, what were you feeling in the moment? I mean, as you're setting these boundaries, you're still trying to go through this with and without people. What was going on in your mind at the moment? Like, did you feel like there was no light at the end of the tunnel, or were you like, okay, there's some hope there? Like,
Ooh,
was it? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
you're really hitting something here, because that's one of the things. Like a lot of my friends, from like classmates to church friends to whatnot, they said to me like, "There is light at the end of the tunnel." Like that was a lot of their go-to statements to
Mm,
me. And honestly, I do not agree with that. I don't think that's true. And that was something I was learning like really hard in the moment, because I was like, there is no light at the tunnel. Like Bianca, she is never going to come back, no matter how much I want
Mm.
it or not. Like there's nothing going to change about my situation. So I had to learn that if I want to like be happy and like see the light at the end of the tunnel, I have to find it today, because I'm not going to find it tomorrow. There is no like hope for that. So I was like, if I can't find it today, then there is no light. So
Wow.
I did my very best to find the small sparks of hope in my everyday life.
Like what? Like how?
Good question. It was very practical. So in the beginning, it looked like I had a challenge for myself, and that was every day I had to discover something new. It could be as small, I'm not even joking, it could be as small as a tiny bug, like in a garden, like that could be it. But just letting myself stop and just appreciate the very small
Yeah.
things around me. Like it could be a new street I had not seen before. Like that was the things that I let myself discover and just took the time to try to enjoy.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. And I'm sure even in those small little moments, like that was just such a relief. You
Yeah.
know, would you say, because I've heard this before, we're totally deviating from the questions
Mm.
like I told you we probably would. But I think this is so important because, you know, perhaps maybe someone didn't go through something as traumatic as
Mm.
you,
Yeah.
right? But something still life
Yeah.
changing, life
Yeah.
altering. And I've heard, and you hear it at, you know, in the church too, right? I've
Mm.
heard time and time again, try to find something that you're thankful for. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
thankfulness, gratitude is always like the best remedy, the best medicine for that. Were you
Mm.
able to also have a sense of gratitude? I mean, would you say that that was part of the hope that you would try to find every day?
It probably was deep down. I don't think I ever would have called it that, but I
Mm,
think it was just because I was so caught up in the extremes of life and like how it was all like black and white, life and death. And I was like, I need to find something in between, something that's alive, but like it's not a big thing, but like the small things I've been overlooking a lot of my life so far.
yeah. Wow. Wow. I'm when I interview people, I really just try to put myself in their shoes.
Mm.
With you, Ida, it's so different. Like I can't, because I can't
Yeah.
even imagine truly like the depth of just everything you've
Yeah.
been through. But I must say, and I hope it doesn't annoy you, but you
Mm.
look great. I mean, like you look like vibrant. Not, I'm not just saying it
Thank
because it's
you.
the podcast name, but you are
Yeah.
radiating. There's something still, you know, that's still coming out, that's still of like hope and joy and
Mm.
happiness.
Yeah.
So at least, yeah.
I appreciate hearing that.
Yeah, of course. So now let's talk about how, you know, with everything that went down, would you
Mm.
say that it has shaped your faith in some way, shape, or form? And from what I've right, like I mean, we're all just coming out of a 2 year pandemic that
Mm.
completely shook the world, you know, at its core. And
Yeah.
so during this time, we've had brothers and sisters who have either gotten closer to the Lord, like it
Mm.
was just a time of where people just drew closer, and for some, and the reality of it is people just drifted because they were like, you know, how could a God allow, you know, a virus or whatever your belief is on that, like how with all the deaths that happen, how could this have happened? Like why would a
Mm.
loving God allow this to happen? So gosh, with your experience and what happened to your friend, how
Yeah.
has this shaped your faith?
Oh yeah, for sure it has. Like at first I was, and to some degree I still am, like so mad at God, because I was like God, I want some kind of explanation. Like, why did this happen? Where were you when this happened? Like, I know you could have stopped
Yeah.
it if you are who you say you are. And I've been kind of like, I only want to go back to church when I have the answer for that. I'm like, God, you
Hmm.
owe me. So for a long time that did keep me away from church. Also just I could not hear scripture. I could not be with Christian
Yeah.
people barely.
Mm.
Like I could not open the Bible myself. If anything, people had to read the scripture over me.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, but I think at some point I was also just being reminded of like I do believe in God. Like I've seen him move so much in other people's life. Like I've seen miracles. Like I know he must be real. And then I was like, if God is real, and I do think he is, then like he must be who he says he is. So like yeah, like I can run from church, I can run from Christian community, I can do whatever. But like if God is who he says he is, then he is always present. Like then if I run,
Wow.
he'll be running there with me. Like I can't run
Wow.
from him.
Yeah. Whoa. Wow. That's good. Now, with what you just said, that last sentence or the last couple sentences you said,
Mhm.
would you say that's something that hit you right away, or did it take you some time for you to
That
really, you know, really grasp that?
Yeah, it did. It did. It took so long. And I'm still not there, like where I have the answer to the question where God was. And
Mm.
I'm still finding my way in that. And maybe not ever really getting the answer to that. Um, but at least, yeah, like, do we trust that God is who he says he is? Like, do we trust
Wow.
what we know about him to be true in the past?
Wow. Wow. Oh, uh,
Mm.
so going back when I say I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, because I know I feel like I would be right where you are. It'd be so hard for me as much as
Yeah.
I like proclaim online and have this podcast and share from Fashion Meets God, like how much I love
Mm.
God and my relationship with him. It's until experiences like that will
Mm.
completely
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
change everything.
It
And so I
will.
feel like
It
I
will.
would be right there with you.
Yeah.
And thank you also, Ida, for just being so real and
Mm.
honest about where, how it's taken you, where you've been on your faith journey with it. Cause that's
Yeah.
real. Like, if anything, if, I mean, not that it would be impossible, but if you were to say like, oh, I'm great. Like I went back to church
Mm.
right away and I,
Yeah.
raised my hands and everything was fine. I think I'd be more concerned about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But the fact that you're like, no, it took time.
Mm.
You said I couldn't even read scripture. If anything, people had to
No.
speak
No.
it over you. You know,
And
you
honestly,
mm,
yeah, still,
still, even now,
yeah, yeah.
till,
I still can't open my Bible and just have
yeah,
quiet time.
yeah, yeah. Wow. And I know that there's someone out there that can relate, that
Mm.
maybe have felt guilty and ashamed for feeling like that. So thank you for, being so open and honest. Um,
Mm.
and I mean, we're all in this
Thanks.
journey called life.
We
And
are.
so, yeah, it's a process. It's
Yeah.
definitely a process. It's not, what do they call it? It's not a sprint, it's a marathon,
Yeah.
right? So, all right. So, as we're kind of wrapping down our time together, I have a few more questions for you.
Mm.
And this one, I won't lie, is something I'm asking because it's literally a question I need answered for myself.
Yeah.
Because as I've told you before we hit record, I was the person when it comes to mental health, like I whenever someone told me they were struggling or they would just tell me, instances, I don't hate me guys out there,
Mm.
but I would be the one that would say, just let's pray together. Like let just bring it to God, just surrender it to God. Just all the almost
Mm.
cliche kind of sayings. I know I'm making some people cringe right now. So now coming out of a pandemic and learning more about mental health and having more conversations about it with people even within my own family, with my friends, things I just read online, people I follow on Instagram who are big advocates of mental health and
Mm.
the Christian faith. I've learned so much. And I've realized and I've found that mental health is not a one way journey for everyone. It's a
Yeah.
whole highway times 10 of people, just trying to navigate it. There's so much that goes behind it. It's so much more complex than I, you know, thought
Yeah.
originally.
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone who may say, like, you don't need to go to therapy, like something that I would have said before, like, just pray, go to God about it? What would you say to someone who would say something like that?
Ooh, I think I would for sure like say how every person's story is different. Um, and like, yeah, you never know what someone needs. Like for me, I started therapy early on, but I had to stop it again. So like yeah, therapy can be a good thing. It can also not be. Like it's you have to find out yourself, but just know that your mental health is real and it's worth doing something about.
Yeah.
I for sure say that. And then also like how pain can never be compared. Like some
Ooh.
like don't even try to compare pain because you can may compare experiences, yeah, but you cannot compare how someone is feeling about those experiences. And that should never be compared.
That's a really good one. And I'm glad you brought that up because that specifically is also something I've especially during the pandemic, early on, especially, was hearing a lot about. I think from one Instagrammer lady, she called it pain shaming.
Yeah.
Like, don't pain shame. Don't compare pain
Mhm.
to each other because pain is pain.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad you brought that up. And I I can resonate with that for sure. Maybe not in a super traumatic way, like you
Mhm.
have, but just other areas of my life, I've learned to not pain shame, and for other people to not pain shame upon me, if that makes sense. Like
Mm,
comparing the pain,
yeah.
or comparing it. So that's so good. So the last question that I have for you, possibly, we'll see
Mhm.
where this
Great.
goes, because this is also another meaty question, is what would you say to someone, especially right now, that may be listening in,
Mm,
who are hurting, they have a fresh wound, or
mm,
maybe they're just in the middle of the struggle, middle of the pain. What would you say to someone who's going through that? Or what would you how would you treat someone who may be hurting right now too?
mm. Yeah, yeah. I think um like also depending on the like how well you know the person, but I think one of the first things maybe I would say is also just focusing on something like small that person is succeeding in, even if it's like getting up in the morning, if it's taking a shower, like whatever, depending on the situation. Like I would celebrate that because that is so on my heart. Because often I think we only celebrate the people like getting a new promotion at their job. We celebrate people when they
Mm,
publish a book, but like we forget to celebrate that one person who leaves the house for the first time in maybe days because of depression, or the person who goes out into a place where they don't know anyone because of anxiety. And like we forget
wow.
that that is just as much worth celebrating. And I
Wow.
wish we would be better at seeing where each other's at and celebrating the small things.
Wow. Wow. I'm taking it in too, Ida. I know, I
Mm,
can feel, I can see that this is something so close to your heart
it
because you
is,
are
yeah,
living it. Like
yeah,
literally, you are living through it right now.
yeah.
And I know this is just what you want to get out there to people,
Mm,
to
yeah.
understand also. So I'm also learning. I gotta be honest, I'm also learning. So
Mm.
now this is the last question because
Let's see.
I'm curious because I want to kind of do it full circle here, right?
Yeah.
Because how we met online was you being a guest feature for Fashion Meets God, and
Mm.
your blog is called Live Fully Alive,
Yes.
right? That's
Hmm.
right,
Yeah.
correct? Okay, so now that it's Mental Health Awareness Month, and the whole all the this whole conversation that we've just had, would you still hold that true over your life? And was that something that you'd want others to take on still, especially those who are struggling, like that tagline, live fully alive.
For sure, I would. Um, because life, yes, some days it is about surviving. And that, as I said before, that is just as much worth celebrating as living the days you live life fully alive. But like there is so much potential in life. Life should be more than just the sum of the days where we're trying to get
Mm.
through life.
Oh.
Because even though I don't, yeah, fully like know the joy of life right now to its fullest degree, I know that there is joy to be found, and
Mm.
we can help each other find it, and we can help each other chasing it.
So beautiful. Thank you, Ida, for sharing. And I've just been learning so much. I'm sure whoever's on the other side of this podcast is also just taking every word, soaking in, meditating on every word that you've shared. And I know this is going to help so many people out there. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for allowing me to share.
Of course, of course. So now we're going to switch gears a little bit. We do
Mhm.
have a lightning round, as I usually do with guests. So I've got 8 questions for you, and we're just going to, I should say, going to just answer them one by one. So are you ready?
Sure. Yep,
Okay.
bring it.
All right. So we're going to try and kind of liven it up a little bit. We know that conversation was quite heavy. So
Yeah.
let's shift gears. So, question 1, coffee or tea?
Tea. I found out I'm allergic to coffee, so tea all the way.
No
Yeah.
way. Okay. That's interesting. Was that hard
Hmm.
for you
It
to
was.
not?
It took me a long time where I was trying to deny it, but when coffee makes you black out, there's no denying.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay, that's like a whole other
it is.
episode.
It
That's a
is.
whole other conversation. Wow. Okay. Interesting. Okay, question number 2. Oh, and I know you travel so much. Where would you want to
Mhm.
travel right now?
Hmm. Let me think. I think Indonesia, Bali.
Okay, that's closer to me. So
Okay.
if ever you're in the Philippines, just swing by. Just
I
stop
will let you
by, make
know.
a pit stop. Okay.
Yes.
TV series or movies?
Movies, because that's less commitment.
Commitment. I love that word. Commitment. True.
Yep.
Favorite place you've ever been?
Ooh, I think that must be Yosemite National Park.
Okay. Never been there, but I've seen pictures. It's beautiful.
It's my favorite.
Wow, amazing. Cats or dogs?
Dogs?
Dogs.
Yeah.
Favorite color?
Pink
We're
for
in the
the
same boat.
win.
Same boat. Biggest pet peeve.
I think that must be when people throw garbage around or just leave it. I cannot stand that.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's not good.
Yep.
Oh, and last but not least, favorite cuisine.
Greek. My heart is Greek.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, Greek food's the
Greek.
best.
Wow, very interesting. Well, Ida, I just want to say thank you so much. Again, thank you 100 times over. I've learned so much. And I hope maybe perhaps even this was almost healing in some
Yeah.
way for
Yeah.
you, just sharing it, just talking about it, putting it out there. And I know so
Mhm.
many other people are going to be blessed and encouraged by it too. So any last words, Ida, and where can people find you as well? On social media.
Yeah. Oh, good question. I think last was just thanks for featuring me, and just yeah, I just wish we all would be so much better at just asking each other, how are you really doing? Like dig beneath the surface. Because I'm sure like there's a lot to uncover for most people. Yeah. And
Beautiful.
then to find me, it's easiest to go to my Instagram, where it's at Ida, IDA, and then Pahus, Pahus. There you can find me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ida. Take care and God bless.
Thank you.
Oof. Right. Right. I mean, I feel like some of the questions I was even asking weren't even coming out right because, like, my mind was still trying to grasp of just everything that she's been through. I pray that this also encouraged you guys. Um, for those who are going through it, I'm here for you. I'm a listening ear. I can listen really well. And if you need to get help, and especially if you're in the Christian community and you feel ashamed or you still feel like it's wrong to get help, please, I hope that that's we're getting out and shifting out of that mentality. If you need to get help, the proper help, please get the help that you need. Like she just, like what Ida just said, we should still be able to live a life, to live fully alive. And I know it's not always easy to get there, and it may take some time, it may be a process, but we all should live a life where we can feel fully alive. So that's all that I have for you guys today. I will catch you guys in the next episode. And until then, take care and let's get radiant from the inside out. Bye, friends.